All right, great. Welcome everybody. So in terms of props today, probably just your blocks. Nothing too specific other than that. If you have them. But let's kind of move to our mats and we'll start in our breath. So I'm actually wondering if let's start laying on our backs today. Let's start in constructive rest pose. We're going to do a little psoas focus, and that's a great place to start for that one. So you can come and lay on your mat on your back with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. If this particular shape doesn't work for you, and this goes for everything in the class, feel free to do something that does work for you. Okay, you never have to do anything I'm suggesting. This particular pose is nice for starting to release the psoas, which is a muscle kind of deep in the guts that's related to the movement of your legs and the connection of your legs to your spine. And let's just start by taking some nice, deep, soft belly breaths, just kind of centering, connecting to the moment. It might be nice to start with a couple of sighs, which can be a nice way of just kind of rinsing off whatever's been going on today so far. Just allowing yourself to come into this moment in your practice. Find the ground. Feeling the parts of your body that are in contact with the earth. And just really taking a moment to notice yourself exactly as you are today. Just gently brushing aside any of those thoughts about, what you should be feeling or what you sort of want to be experiencing in your body, and see if you can just see what's actually going on. And just soften into that. Let it be true, whatever it is. Okay, and we're going to start to find our Ujjayi pranayama, and there are lots of different ways to do this. And we're going to focus a little bit on this diaphragmatic breath today. So you just place your hands on your ribs, so sort of under your chest. And as you inhale, rather than your belly expanding forward and up, see if you can feel your ribs expanding out into your hands. And then just feel the way they draw together on your exhale. And pulling your ribs maybe up away from your hips a little bit and wide into your hands. In and down as you exhale. And you might already notice that there's a bit of a whispering sound at the back of your throat. That's a side effect of the diaphragmatic Ujjayi breathing. And we're just going to play with that a little bit today. So just seeing if you can feel that feedback under your hands, ribs separating and lifting on the inhale. And just before we move off from here, I'm also just going to invite you to notice, it's a bit subtler, the backs of the ribs. So imagine they're pressing down and widening into the earth on the inhale. So just seeing if you can get that full 360 diaphragmatic breathing going. Okay, and then gather your knees in towards your chest. You can give yourself a little rock from side to side. And then hold on to your left leg and extend your right leg long onto the mat in front of you. Press forward through the heel, okay, and breathe down into the pit of your right hip. Keep lifting the ribs wide and open. So you're breathing down and up at the same time. I know that's a little bit weird to think about. And then when you're ready, we'll switch sides, just bringing in the right knee, extending the left leg down. So when we really work into the breath, there's more space than often we realize. So the ribs are lifting and expanding at the same time. We're getting the breath all the way down into the groin. Feet are flexed, left heel is pressing forward. Nice, and then we'll gather that in, rock side to side, and then travel towards your hands and your knees. So you can roll over to one side, press up to your hands and your knees, and we're just kind of make our journey towards our downward facing dog. So I'm going to take some cat and cows first. As I mentioned, I have a little bit of a sore back today, so if you see me doing some weird things, that's why. But when my back is feeling sensitive, I actually find cat and cow is such a nice way of just kind of checking in and getting things moving. If you're feeling ready for a downward dog and that's where you are, just go right in, no problem. I'm just listening for that ujjayi breath the whole time, so that nice expansive breath. And if you haven't already put your playlist on, you're welcome to start it here, just as we're kind of getting going. When you're ready to come up into your downward facing dog, just be aware of those breaths. So letting the ribs expand away from the hips on the inhale. So you're upside down, so it might feel a little bit funny to do that. But you can imagine too at the same time that your pelvis is kind of lifting up off your ribs and your belly is like stretching long. Feel free to move in your downward dog, bending one knee at a time, for example, or swaying the hips from side to side. And then when you're ready, walk to your hands, coming into standing forward bend. Feel free to rest your elbows on your bent knees, just keeping your back neutral. If it's feeling good and right for you to fold forward over your legs, you could hold opposite elbows or let the fingertips come down. Maybe give your head a little shake. Sometimes this one's really nice for just releasing neck tension and jaw tension. Keep breathing. Here you might feel the ribs kind of pulling away from the hips and down towards the earth. And then let's roll up. So bend into your knees, sinking back into your heels, and slowly curl one vertebrae at a time. Or you could keep those knees really bent, look forward, and come up with a nice long spine. Finding your posture. So trying to land your ribs just over top of your hips. And again, see if you can feel that lift and widen of the ribs as you inhale. Drawing in and down on the exhale. Good, and let's flow with that. Inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Exhale, dive over your legs. Halfway lift, draw your heart forward. And then step your right foot behind you and lower down your knee. Heart and hands rise up, inhale, low lunge. Nice, downward facing dog. As you exhale, connect the palms, step back. Come forward to plank. As you inhale, feel free to use your knees and lower all the way down for this first one. Point the toes, little cobra, lifting the chest lightly, inhaling. Exhale back to your downward facing dog. Right leg will rise to the sky, inhale. Exhale, step that foot through, low lunge. Heart and hands rise, inhale. Exhale to the top of the mat, fingertips and feet. Lengthen as you inhale. Exhale and melt. Bend the knees, rising all the way up. Exhale all the way down. Halfway lift, draw forward, inhale. Left foot steps back. Low lunge, inhale again, ribs lift and widen. Exhale, connect the palms, step back, downward dog. Come forward to plank, on or off the knees, and then lower all the way, or take a little push up if you like, and then come through upward facing dog, which I'm not going to do today. Stay down here. And then back to downward dog from there. On an inhale, left leg rises to the sky. Step the foot through. Low lunge, inhaling. Beautiful. To the top of the mat, forward fold. Lengthen and melt. Bend the knees, rise all the way up. Hands to the heart, exhale. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, dive to the earth. Lengthen, draw forward. Right foot back. Heart and hands rise. Inhale, low lunge. Downward facing dog through your vinyasa. Come to your plank. Lower all the way down or a little push up. And then you could move through your back bend. Downward facing dog from there. Right leg rises to the sky. Step it through. Good, take your low lunge. And then forward fold to the top of your mat. Take your time, nice long breaths, halfway lift. And fold. Bend the knees, rise all the way up. Nice, you guys, fold all the way down. Lengthen. Left foot steps back. Low lunge. Beautiful. Downward dog. Take your variation of vinyasa. This could always be cat and cow, okay? Just sort of moving with the breath, finding the place that feels right for you. Okay, back in downward dog. Left leg will rise. And step through. Good. Inhaling into your low lunge. And then to the top of your mat. Lengthen and melt. Bend the knees, rise all the way up. And then bring the hands to touch at the heart. Take a moment to feel and breathe when you get there. To notice how the parts of your body are connecting to each other or not. Breathing wide. Good. Okay, let's take the feet just a little bit wider than hips distance apart, so maybe not quite as wide as your mat. And you can experiment with turning your toes slightly out here. There should be no pain in the knees. Inhale, reach your arms up. And as you exhale, sink your hips back some amount and bring your fists to your hips. Press into your heels. Inhale, rise back up. Exhale, fist to hips, sinking down some amount. Keep that back neutral. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, sink. Finding your glutes. Okay, press into the heels to rise up. Glutes are a big helper for the lower back, so we want them to be nice and strong to help support us. Inhale to rise. Good. We'll take a few more, just experimenting with how low down you want to go. This should be totally painless in your knees the whole time. For 2. Okay, 1 more. Maybe hold in a little squat if you can. Stay or turn the toes out a little bit more and sink into your full squat. Okay, you might need to sit on blocks or put props underneath your heels to sustain your full squat. Again, it's not great for everyone's knees. And my favorite way of doing that without props is just sit on your bum, widen your feet apart a little bit. Okay, wherever you are, think about squeezing your bum a little bit, drawing the tailbone down just as with gravity, so we're not trying to round the back or anything like that. Lift the heart and pull the shoulder blades down. Really nice. And then we'll sit back, so you can bring your hands around behind you, sit your bum down and lay on your back. Okay, take a moment with your feet on the floor. This is one that I've been working with a lot lately and I quite like. Middle fingers to hip points, thumbs to ribs. Keep a neutral space underneath your back. So that's different for everybody. We're not flattening the back to the mat, but you do want to imagine those 4 points trying to get closer to each other. So we're engaging the core, pelvic floor draws in and up, belly button presses back towards the heart, okay? So option 1, we're just lifting 1 foot at a time on the inhale, and on the exhale, we put it down. Inhale, lift, exhale, put down. This is a really nice functional core that's helpful if your back is sore for sure. Helpful for lots of other things as well. It's really great for lots of us. If you're feeling like you want just a little bit more today, you can hug your knees and curl your shoulder blades up off the mat. So you're going to lose a little bit of that lower back curve, but we're not trying to really flatten it like crazy. Think more about belly button scooping in and up. Inhale, and as you exhale, you can extend one leg forward and try to touch the opposite knee, okay? So that's going to be a little bit more intense in terms of core. See what works for you. It should be a place where you're feeling something in the abdominal muscles, but you're not gritting your teeth, you're not feeling like it's unsustainable. I really find that working less more often is really how I get strong anyway. Trying to like do something really super intense just once in a while doesn't do much for me. Everyone's different, of course, but I know for myself, just backing off a little bit, but doing it more often, that's where I get benefit. Okay, and again, I don't care so much what this looks like, but I do care that your lower back feels safe and that you're working on getting that belly button drawing in and up. And again, you want to think about kind of working to fatigue. So just to that place where you feel like, oh yeah, I'm getting some work here for sure. And this works the psoas a little bit as well if you've got that leg going straight. Yeah, awesome, you guys. Just taking a few more breaths here, end early if you need to. Just working to that place where you feel you got something out of it. This is going to be my last set here. And relax. So you can hug your knees into your chest. You can let the feet come to the floor. I'm going to take this little half happy baby that I've been really enjoying lately. So I'm just allowing my knees to widen apart. I'm holding them with my hands and just rocking a little bit from side to side. So we're really getting the inner thighs. Good. Okay. And then from here, we're going to make our way back towards our downward facing dog. So you can rock and roll forward and back if you like, or you can roll to one side. And then go ahead and flow through your variation of vinyasa, which again could be cat and cow, could be the full variation. You could use your knees or not. And I'm just working with a little mini back bend here. Beautiful. And let's actually meet on our bellies. This should feel nice actually after that work into the core. So just keeping your head down, you can do forehead, or I've got my chin on my hands right now. Just go ahead and bend your left leg, reach back behind you with your left hand and hold on to it. Hug the inner thighs together a little bit, press the top of the right foot into the mat, squeeze the bum, hug the left heel in towards the bum, and resist a little bit with your hands. So just toes flared and breathe. So I love this quad exercise. I find that this one, so many people can access this if you can lay on your belly, of course. And it gets right into the quad, which is sort of where we want it, especially if you squeeze that thumb. And you might notice if you are having back pain today, which I certainly am, the quads will tend to be tighter because your body is kind of contracting inwards. This can be a nice way to help encourage a little bit of that release. Okay, and then when you're ready, just gently let that go and we'll switch sides. Then the right leg, hold on to it with your right hand, stay nice and low, just really focusing on those quads. Left leg is super straight and strong, squeeze the bum and try to kind of ground your pubic bone into the mat. So your tailbone is getting really nice and long, foot is active, and you're just gently pulling with your hand. So you're really isolating the stretch into the quad. So good. And then we'll gently release that and just take a moment to wobble your hips a little bit from side to side. Awesome. And then we'll make our way back to downward facing dog, or you could do this on hands and knees as well. Go ahead and extend your right leg up towards the sky. You can roll the hips open if you like. Okay, just stay in downward dog for now. You're gonna inhale, bring the knee in towards your belly button, and then open to the right side, and then back up to the sky. And just do that 2 more times. So big circles with the hips. Keep a little bend in the elbows, shoulders are deepening kind of down the back. Okay, inhale, and then you can do that again, or come to plank, bring the knee in, open to the right, and then back up to the sky. And we'll just do that 2 more times if it's available. You can also do this on hands and knees or just stay in downward dog, circling the knee, getting the outer hip one way or another. Awesome. And then step your foot forward. So I'm going to come into low lunge here. You could do pretty much all of this in high lunge if you need to, okay? But I'm just going to pad my knee, and I'd love for you to at least try low lunge to get started here. If you're doing the high lunge variation, you'll have a little bit of a bend in your back knee. So we're going to be in we're not trying to get the hips so far forward right away here. We're going to square the hips, draw the tailbone down. There's a little bit of pressing the hips forward, so you'll probably already feel your quadricep lengthening a little bit. And let's see if we can involve the psoas. So I want you to think about that rib breath, really lifting the back ribs up and wide. So it's almost a feeling like you're hunching slightly. So we're not trying to get into this big back bend. We're gathering back, and the energy is going up and in. And then you may start to feel that psoas a little bit more. Okay, from here, try reaching your arms up and then interlace the fingers. Bring them to the back of your skull, and then if you can, hug the elbows towards each other. Okay, I've got my hands kind of clasped behind me, so the palms are actually touching. They don't have to, but just kind of aiming in that direction. So there's a real hugging in of the elbows. Keep that energy of lift in the back ribs, and at the same time, press your elbows up. Breathe into the left side of your waist. And then see what it feels like to side bend slightly to the right. Keep breathing into your back ribs. Yeah, so you'll notice I'm not in a really deep lunge. I'm actually leaning back a little, and I'm really focusing on that back body. Okay, ease off, release the hands, take your left hand across your thigh. Keep the tailbone drawing down, but you can dip into the lunge a little bit more, and then just open the right arm to the right. Hug the shoulders onto the back. You can very lightly hug the left hand and the thigh into each other, so we're twisting, opening that right arm to the right, and maybe flex the hand back just to get a little bit more into your forearm. Shoulders down the back, breathe. Keep breathing into the back ribs, but you can work the hips a little more forward Nice. Inhale and then gently release. Bring your hands down to either side of the front foot and feel free to use your blocks here if you like them, if you have them. Otherwise, fingertips. I'm just going to walk my foot forward a little bit. I want my back hip still over top of my knee. And that was a relatively short lunge that we were working with. You can untuck your back toes here if you want. Okay, as you inhale, lengthen your heart forward. As you exhale, gently melt over the leg. You can do that a few times. So inhale, lengthening, drawing tailbone back. Exhale and melt. And there is nothing wrong with staying up high in that nice long opening. Just keep working that right hip back. And those of us that are having a bit of back pain today, staying up high might be a nice place to be. Beautiful. Okay. Inhale, look forward. As you exhale, bend into your front leg, walk your hands or blocks forward, and float your back leg up to the sky. Hug the inner thighs, send the heel high, and let your heart come down nice and low. I'm just on my fingertips here. I really want to use my core. So inner thighs, belly drawing in. I'm looking at the floor, and then I'm experimenting with floating my hands. One, both hands. Maybe they come to my leg. Maybe they're just floating. I'm just working with a little bit of balance with the leg extended here. Gaze is nice and steady. Nice. And then both feet come down. Nice work, everybody. Fold down. And then take your sweet time to roll up one vertebrae at a time, or look forward and come up with a nice long spine. Take a moment to feel, to breathe, to reconnect. Okay, think about that core drawing up from the roots of your toes through pelvic floor, through the center of your body. So not just the front, okay, but imagine that your core is really right in the core, in the center, like the core of an apple, okay? Bring your fingertips together to start. Lean left. Pick up your right knee and come into some variation of tree pose. So heel to the ankle, toes to the floor, foot on the calf, or heel to the thigh, just not right on the knee joint. Press the foot and leg together, fingertips in together. Draw the elbows down. Squeeze your bum. Get nice and tall. Breathe into the back ribs. Okay, you might interlace your fingers and bring them to the back of your head. Let the elbows go wide and tip your gaze a little up towards the sky. This is going to be a bit more challenging in terms of balance. Okay, if you've got your hands behind the back of your head, please try to keep them there. If you need to release them, that's no problem. We're going to step back into warrior two. So the foot lands towards the back of your mat. Front knee is bent over top of the ankle. Tailbone is drawing down, really pressing into that back foot and turning your chest just lightly towards the side. Elbows again are wide. Breathing into the back ribs. Think of shoulders drawing down your back and then side bend. So it's a little bit like an exalted warrior. So the left elbow goes up towards the sky, and you can gently pull down on the right hand. So you're getting a little bit of a shoulder stretch there as well. And I'm just kind of leaning my head back into my left wrist. Keep breathing into your back ribs. So good. Ease off, straighten your front leg, release your arms open. We're gonna come into triangle, so you may wanna shorten your stance just a touch. Tip the hips back, reach forward, place the fingertips, right arm goes up to the sky, hug the shoulders onto the back. Nice, everybody. Beautiful. Okay, inhale. And then as you exhale, look down, and we're going to come into weird pyramid. So the hands will come down onto the blocks or the floor. You'll spin onto the ball of your back foot, work both legs towards straight, and if you can, flex your front foot. So we're kind of hugging the inner thighs, drawing the heart forward and as down as you'd like. Okay, I like the back heel lifted up really nice and high. Just getting into the outer part of the hamstring a little bit there. Okay, we can add on to this a little bit by bending the back leg and pointing it to the left. So that'll tip your hips off a little bit and you'll feel probably the stretch moving into your outer hips slightly. And release, come on back through your downward facing dog and do what you need to do. So child's pose, vinyasa, cat and cow. What do you need today? Nice, you guys. Okay, so from here, we're gonna work into downward dog or hands and knees is great. Left leg is gonna go up towards the sky. You can open the hips if you want. Okay, inhale. As you exhale, bring the knee into the chest, just staying in downward dog for now. Knee opens to the left and then back up to the sky. And we're gonna do that 2 more times. So it's just a little hello to the outer hips. This is a nice way of kind of integrating that outer hip work into our flows. And then if you want a little more juice here, next time you exhale, come forward. So shoulders are over the wrists. Knee opens to the left. Then we're coming back to the sky. 2 more of those. All right, and then we'll step that left foot forward. And again, if you can, come into the low lunge, probably pat it and rise up. Good, okay. So we're in not a super deep lunge, we're kind of up high. Hips are squaring, tailbone is drawing down, and we're really seeing if we can kind of scoop the belly up and in and the back ribs towards the sky. It helps to press into the back toes and squeeze that right bum as well. You can stay here or try reaching the arms up. Maybe interlace the fingers, try to draw them together. So you're kind of hugging the elbows towards each other and lift the elbows. So this is a bit of a weird image, but it helps me. Imagine that you're lifting your elbow from the inside of your hip. So it's really gathering up through the back. Okay, that's kind of the line of the psoas. And it's not a big back bend at all, but you'll be feeling that lengthening in the front of the thigh. And then you can add that little bit of a side stretch, which for me is like, yep, that is the spot. So side bending to the left. Keep that back part of your ribs on the right side puffing up. Yeah, nice. And then come through center, gently ease off. Take your right hand to the outer left thigh. You can come a little bit more into the lunge, but we're not overdoing that. And then left arm opens to the left. So this should feel like a chest opening. Hand and leg are pressing into each other a little bit. You might flex the left hand back. Okay, inhale, and then gently release. Bring the hands down to the blocks or the floor and straighten out your front leg. So I'm needing to lengthen the stance a little bit. Little bend in the knee, draw the heart forward and up, and then you can fold or you can stay up high, just depending on where you're at today. Wherever you are, we're kind of drawing the left hip back, heart long. Nice. Good. And then we'll look forward, bend into the front leg. You can bring your blocks forward. We're going to bring the back leg up to the sky. Hug the inner thighs, really using the core. Let your heart be nice and heavy, but staying connected. And then you might practice a little bit of floating hands and just kind of asking yourself, like, what muscles do I need to engage? Like, how do I need to feel the connection so that I actually don't need my hands here? Gaze on the floor. And then come on down. Nice job, everybody. Take a halfway lift and fold. Okay, halfway lift again. Hands on the ground or on blocks is great. Just bend one knee at a time. Just give your outer hips a little massage. You can do this as a twist if you want. So as your left knee bends, right leg straightens, you can lift your right arm up if you want. And then same thing on the other side. You don't have to. It's just a little extra juice there. And then rise up any way you like, but go slowly. Find your core. Think of sinking into the earth. Taking a moment. Finding your connection to your feet, the earth, your core, which runs right through the center of you. Okay, and let's find tree. So I like to bring my fingertips together. I find that really helpful for balance. Lean right. You can pick up your left leg and place it somewhere along the inner line of your right leg. So toes to the floor, heel to the ankle works, or you can bring it up higher. Squeeze the leg and the foot into each other, fingertips into each other. Maybe the arms come up. You might interlace the fingers and take them to the kind of back of the skull. So there's almost like this little platform for your skull to rest on, and you're tipping your gaze up to the sky. That's going to be a little harder for balance. It's okay if you fall out. This is yoga practice. Not yoga perfect. I know that's cheesy, but it's true. Okay. Nice, you guys. Bringing your heart back through center. Carefully step back into warrior two, keeping your arms in this orientation if you can. Okay, or replacing them that way. Bringing your right knee over your ankle, back leg is nice and strong, tailbone is drawing down. So we don't often think about warrior two as a psoas lengthening pose, but it can be, especially when we allow the back hip to lower down a little bit and really get nice and strong and straight through that back leg. Okay, keep pressing your front knee open. Breathing into your back ribs. And then tipping back into this mild version of exalted warrior, maybe pulling down a little bit on that bottom hand just to get a little bit more of that shoulder opening. And you can kind of have the back of your head just leaning into your arm. None of this should hurt. Awesome. And then we'll straighten the front leg, release the arms. You can shorten your stance a little bit, coming into triangle, tipping your hips back, leaning down and letting that left arm open. So legs are really strong, including the glutes. Hips are pressing forward a little bit. We've got nice long space between the two sides of the waist, and we're just opening the chest. Think of shoulder blades running down the back. Nice, everybody. Inhale. And then spin your hands down. Feel free to use your blocks again here. Come onto the ball of your back foot and see if you can flex your front one. So you're really scissoring the inner thighs towards each other and drawing that right hip back. Okay, you could bend the back leg a little bit and just slightly twist. So you're turning the knee to the right, drawing the right hip back a little. You might feel your psoas there. Beautiful. And then gently release. Step yourself back to your downward dog and take whatever you need. So cat and cow, child's pose, full vinyasa. See where you're at. Beautiful. Okay, so I'd love to take a quick trip towards headstand today. And I'll just mention that one of the ways that we can sometimes think about imbalances in the body is if we're doing inversions, it's like correcting the imbalance from the top down instead of the bottom up, which is sometimes just more information for your body and might feel really good. So we won't spend too much time on this, but we'll check it out and see how it feels. So first, I'm going to give you an option if you know you don't want to do headstand, you don't want to put any weight on your head. That's fine. We're going to interlace the fingers. So it's kind of in between the two mudras we were working with before. So I've got a little bit of space between the palms and I'm just hugging my elbows in close together. Okay. So if you're working in headless headstand, you can have your elbows down in that little bit of a mudra and you're just essentially taking downward dog and just letting your head relax. Okay. So this is great for opening and strengthening the shoulders. It's excellent shoulder therapy. So many benefits here. If you want, you can lift one leg at a time just to get a little bit more practice there. Okay. If you want to try the full headstand, you might want to make your way towards a wall so that you have that support there. And we don't want to do this, of course, if we have any issues with the neck going on and so on. So I'll just show sideways the prep for headstand. I know some of you know this, and then we'll work with it a little bit. So same mudra, elbows are pretty close together. If they're too wide, they can't really support us. And we want to allow them to roll out a little. So they're pretty narrow. And the head comes in between the wrists. And this is awesome. You can stay here or tuck the toes, rising up. Hug the inner thighs, lift a leg. Think about that balancing pose we were doing earlier. You can press into the elbows and lift one leg at a time. Okay. A little trick for this. When you're working into your headstand, if you're in a triangle, it's pretty hard to lift one side of a triangle. So you've got to get your feet as close to your face as you can. And if possible, you actually let your butt lean back a little so that when you're straightening, you can kind of get this long line here, which makes a lot more sense. And actually, I can show you because I have a little sideways wall over there. So feel free to just play with it, those of you that are kind of in to your headstand here. Otherwise, I'm going to show you over here what I mean. So if one leg is going up at a time, you actually kind of want to think about that leg going behind you. Okay, so walk, 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 walk. I'm letting my butt actually go back a little. One leg comes up, I want that leg to go behind me so that I can find that straight line. Okay, rather than being way back here and trying to lift because there's just you don't have any leverage there. So you got to come in closer, pressing the elbows. Think about the space behind you. And that's where you can start to work that straight line, okay? Like no problem, right? Yeah, good. So Tessa, can you bring your feet any closer to your face? Yeah, really stick your butt up. There you go. That's gonna be, yeah. If you lift a leg, you might feel really different now. Yep. Just physics, right? Cool. Nice. And then coming into child's pose, if you're not already, just relax your head. You guys are troopers. Okay, taking any mudra you like for child's pose. So if you want a little more shoulder opening, you could have palms together, thumbs at the upper back. If you're feeling like, oh, that was enough, hands by the hips and your shoulders will kind of flop down. And if you like, you can rock your head a little from side to side. Okay. And then meet me on your back. So you can slide to your belly and flip over, or you can sit up and swing your legs around. Whatever's easier for you is fine. And if you have blocks or cushions or props or whatever, just have them at your side. Okay, I want to take 2 active bridges and 1 passive bridge. So we'll choose our own adventure here a little bit. So start with your feet parallel. I personally like outer hips distance apart. That works for me. Some people, traditionally it's sit bone distance apart, which is pretty narrow for me, but it might work for you. Okay, it depends on your body. So elbows pressed down and apart to hug the elbows, the shoulder blades towards each other. Engage the glutes, engage the core lightly, lift up your bum, any amount, okay? Pressing the elbows down and apart, you can stay or interlace your fingers under you. And I'm actually widening my feet even a little bit more, and I'm hugging my knees together. I want them to stay in line with the ankles. This is, so bridge can be wonderful for lower back stuff, strengthening the back line, especially the glutes. Okay, you want to be using your glutes here. And it's just really nice counter pose for headstand too. And then gently come down and rest, so knees together or apart. Relax your belly for a couple breaths. We are sort of transitioning into our cool down. Okay, and we're going to take 1 more active back bend. So bridge, I'll talk you through wheel. I'm not going to take it myself today. If you don't want to take either of those, that's fine. If you have a back bend that's really your favorite that you want to do, please be my guest. Okay, just 1 last active back bend. So elbows by the ribs if you're coming with me. Back is neutral, core is engaged. We're pressing into the heels, lifting the bum, taking maybe the fingers interlaced under the body. I often like holding the edges of the mat and pulling them apart. I find that can be really nice. Okay, if you're taking wheel, hands come beside the ears, fingers point in. Hug the elbows, lower the hips a bit, and lift onto the crown of your head very lightly. Widen the hands. Work the arms towards straight. Continue to hug the elbows together. If you get red lights, like stop. Come on down. About 5 breaths more if you can take more. If you're comfortable in your wheel and you can do 8, that's great. Chin to chest when you're ready to come down, just lowering to your shoulders. And again, rest, knees together or apart. Okay, and we're gonna do a little passive psoas release here. So depends on the day for me what kind of height I'm gonna use. When I'm feeling pretty good in my back, I might use 2 bricks like this, or 1 brick on its second highest height. I'm not sure I can take any height today, so I'm gonna see how it goes. You can do no height or something lower if you want, just a slight elevation will be enough, okay? I'm just going to see how this goes. So you're going to put that prop, if you're using one, underneath the back of your pelvis. You kind of want it right on the sacrum there, which might be the area that's feeling sore if you're having lower back pain today. Okay. And then you're just going to stay there or straighten one leg slowly. See how that goes. And maybe bring in the opposite knee. This is so far so good for me. So straightening out that extended leg, flexing the foot. This is exactly what we did before, but with a little bit of elevation. Okay, and we're going to breathe into the belly. So this is probably my favorite way of releasing the psoas. There are lots of stretches that you can do for psoas, but part of the thing about psoas, just like pelvic floor, it contracts with stress. It's very connected to the nervous system. And so a pose like this, which is relatively passive, we can kind of focus a little bit more on the breath, on slowing down, and the psoas is going to be more likely to release when we feel safe and comfortable than when we're kind of muscling through a particular stretch. So you may or may not notice that here. One thing you can think about, we were working with the breath a lot today. Imagine your back ribs kind of dropping into the ground behind you. Okay, and then when you're ready, step one foot to the floor and then the other one, and we'll switch sides. The two sides might certainly be different. Okay, working that opposite leg, it's my left leg towards straight. Oh, yeah, that's tighter. And then you can stay or you can hold on to the opposite knee. This is my right knee. It's hugging a little wide and we're pressing forward through the left heel. Breathing down into the belly and allowing the back ribs to drop. Good. You can take one more deep breath. And then ease off, one foot to the floor and then the other. Take at least one nice deep breath, just symmetrical on the block or whatever you've got if you're using a prop. And then when you're ready, gently lift your bum, move it off to the side. Lastly, thread the needle. Okay, taking the outer right ankle to the left thigh and hugging in. Feet are flexed. And you might rock a little bit from side to side. I find if I move my legs a little to the left, that really brings the stretch into my outer right hip, which is one of those places that can aggravate the lower back. And I know not all of you have lower back pain today. It's just good to know. Super common. And then gently release that as you're ready. Switch sides. If you want, you can shake your legs out or take windshield wipers between the two sides. And then taking the left ankle to the right thigh and gently hugging that in. So if you're quite tight in this area, I find it helps a lot of people to have a low prop under the bum. It just lifts the legs in a little bit so you're not fighting gravity. Okay, I will say about that though, in terms of the hip opening, if you're rounding the back, you might feel the stretch in the back instead of the hip, and we want it in the hip. So just be aware of that. We want to feel that stretch in the outer hip. You can try moving the legs a little bit to the right. Just see if you get something juicy there. And then when that feels complete for you, you can gently release. Again, you can shake the legs out or take windshield wipers. And then just one last shape. So I'd recommend Happy Baby, but if you have something that you want to do that's symmetrical and calming, feel free to do that. Happy Baby, you've just got the soles of the feet up to the sky. Knees are bent, and you can rock a little from side to side. And we're preparing for Shavasana, so you can take your legs over the bolster if you have one, and that again eases the psoas a bit. You can also have knees bent, feet on the floor. I find depending on your back pain, this is just again for reference, something like 90% of us are having back pain at any given time. For some people, a prop underneath the knees really helps with back pain, but for some, it's actually being in a little bit of a back bend shape that feels better. So if you're finding that having a prop under your knees isn't easing your back pain, you might find laying over a bolster like this is actually the ticket for you. So that's just something that you can kind of play with and finding the spot that feels most comfortable and safest for you to rest in. Of course, you could always lay on your side or take some other shape if it looks better for you. And then when you find your spot, take a nice deep breath and settle. Notice how you're feeling. If what you need today is to stay a little bit longer, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, you can deepen your breath and start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rock your head. You can stretch your arms up and your legs out long. Draw your knees in. And roll to one side. And then make your journey up to a seat. Hands could be at your heart or over top or on your belly, whatever feels right. And gently bow your mind to your hands, just taking a moment to honor and acknowledge whatever it took for you to make it to your practice today. To honor and acknowledge the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our practice. And to honor the land that we practice on. Thank you for sharing your practice with me.